During today's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, GOP Senators John Kennedy and Josh Hawley clashed with Democratic Chairman Dick Durbin. The Republican senators were upset that judicial nominees wouldn't give their take on hot-button issues. Durbin defended them, stating that such opinions were not relevant and could affect future cases should they be confirmed. The issue led to a tense moment between the three senators that interrupted the hearing.
Certainly, Senator Kennedy.
Mr. Chairman, I think you mischaracterized my questions.
Oh, no, sir, I wasn't referring to you at all.
I'm glad to hear that, because my questions of the judge were, and I never got an answer, did she agree or disagree with the recommendations?
Senator, I was not referring to you at all. You've asked that question, and most nominees have given the same answer as these nominees, but it's your right to ask that question. And so I was referring to this so-called report involving the Supreme Court.
I was too. And if you have a second round, I'm going to ask it again.
Well, there's no plan.
Does the judge agree or disagree with the recommendations?
Senator,
I'm not really interested in how many lawyers can dance on the head of a pin.
Senator,
I'm just interested in hearing whether the judge agrees or disagrees.
Senator, you're doing the same thing that we've done when the tables were turned. Try to get these nominees to say what their personal views are, and most of them think it through and believe that they can't do that, and it makes them sound as if they don't have a personal
Well,
view.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's the purpose of the Judiciary
Well, you're
Committee.
entitled to your opinion.
Let me just finish my thought. I'm entitled to my opinion. I mean, we're confirming these nominees for lifetime appointments. They're not elected. You don't think it's relevant what they believe?
I think you create a problem for them that jeopardizes their role as judges.
When I just ask them what they believe?
May I finish my thought?
Certainly, I apologize.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that they understand that if they start expressing their personal views, as Ms. Chung has said repeatedly, it's a forecast of the future, and they're trying their best to say law, facts, precedent, and stick with it. And I think that's what we expect of judges.
Well, I just disagree, Mr. Chairman. I think people's personal beliefs, have they thought about the world? Have they thought about the issues that are central to American democracy? I think that's perfectly appropriate. I'm surprised that no, and this isn't meant to be personal, but that you haven't directed them, the witnesses to answer our questions.
We asked the same question to Trump nominees and got the same response. This is a predictable course of action on this committee. We try to probe as deeply as we can, and witnesses don't always go along with the extent of our probe.
Well, recently they never do.
Well, under Trump's nominees, they never did either.
Well, I questioned them too, as you recall.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just, since I think that last back and forth was directed implicitly at me, I think you factually misstated the record, though. And maybe I'm wrong.
Let's get this straight, because I.
Well, can I just let me? Yeah. Sure. So here's, I think, maybe I'm wrong about this. I thought that the justice was the co-chair of this Diversity Strategic Planning Steering Committee, and that entity issued a report to the Delaware Supreme Court. You said that some group made recommendations to the justice. I don't think that's right. I think she co-chaired a committee that made recommendations to the Delaware Supreme Court, and her testimony has been the Supreme Court hasn't acted on those recommendations.
Let her respond.
Sure.
It is correct that I'm the co-chair of the committee that made the recommendations, but what I was trying to clarify is that there's a subgroup, there are 5 subgroups that made recommendations. During those deliberations, the co-chairs, myself and the Chief Justice, did not make recommendations. We did not identify specific recommendations for people. We didn't strike down recommendations for people. We didn't say, yes, we like those, no, we don't like that, like the other ones. We allowed the subcommittees to create their own recommendations. We didn't change the recommendations at all as they went into the report. And those recommendations went in as is to the Supreme Court. And as the entire Supreme Court, our analysis as the Chief Justice and myself would be with the rest of the Supreme Court.
Understood. My only point, Mr. Chairman, is, and I think what I heard Senator Cruz's question. I can't speak for him. I'll just speak for myself. My point is that the justice co-chaired the panel. I think it's reasonable to ask her about the content of the report that they made. And if she doesn't want to answer the questions per your exchange with Senator Kennedy, that's fine.
Suggestion she's dodging the question. How much more explicit can she be? The presumption seems to be that she wrote the recommendations, and it's clear she did not. She said it repeatedly, and you won't accept it. That's just a fact. And so it is an unusual situation, but best I can determine, she gathered the information and passed it along without a vote of approval or without any scrutiny on her person.
But, Mr. Chairman, I just respectfully disagree. I don't think that's not what I asked the witness. I asked her, does she agree or disagree with the recommendations?
Well,
Forget the report.
That's another question, Senator.
But I never got an answer.
Oh, and I don't think you would from a Trump nominee either.
But we don't have Trump. I pressed a lot of Trump nominees, as you well know, and voted against a bunch of them. And they helped kill 4 or 5 that I didn't think were qualified. But I don't agree with your revisionist history, no disrespect, in the last 10 minutes. I asked the witness 4 or 5 times, do you agree or disagree? And I didn't get an answer. Now, you can call that dodging the question. If you want to, that's a little pejorative to me, but I never got an answer, and I don't think that's inappropriate for me to ask. That's the issue.
Senator, by virtue of your position on the committee, you're entitled to ask what you wish. I'm glad you had that chance. If there's nothing further to come before this panel, I want to thank both of you for joining us this morning, and our committee will take up your nominations at a later date. If you receive questions in writing, please respond to them promptly so we can move this along